Actually, first of all, thank you, Prita and Lionel, for inviting me to this forum. And this would be the second time that I would be addressing a group comprised of pre-placement officers and personalities from the various campuses. And this has been a moment of revelation while I was listening to Dr. Bhave. And as he rightly put, when we are in colleges, somewhere, the perceptions about which industry you want to join starts getting framed in your mind. And when I was on campus and I passed out from Tata Institute of Social Sciences 16 years ago, when I passed out from campus, I had this very clear-cut thought process that if I'm going to join, it will be the services industry, and I'm not cut out for manufacturing industry. And the revelation point for me, while I was listening to him, is that the challenges that we are facing today, being part of the IT industry, is no different from what he is facing. I think somewhere the boundaries have really shrunk. The challenges that are there in front of us, and especially when you are referring to aspects like employability, are very real and are very consistent across the globe. So on that note, what I have tried to do is basically through my presentation, which comprises of about 5 to 6 slides, I've tried to give a perspective of what we as employers look out for when we are looking at talent. And I have called this search for talent is little incongruous with the scenario that we are faced today, where some would think that we have more talent than opportunities. But that's not the case. The war for talent is very much on, is very much real, and is very much fought all over the place. Okay, so basically when we talk of talent, we are referring to talent that's employable, that's adding value to the business on a day-to-day basis. And what is making this such a big challenge? Today we are in a world which is going through rapid changes almost on a daily basis, and is not something which is faced by only technology intensive industries. It's being faced by each and every business that's operating, because today, like I said, the boundaries have shrunk. The markets have become smaller. The accessibility to products is much higher. And therefore, the changes are very rapid. There's uncertainty of markets. There's constant flux in organizations. Structures get changed. Technology that becomes dominant today is changing almost on a daily basis. That's the kind of environment that we are in today. There's a need to manage cost effectively. Everywhere, profit lines are shrinking. Customers are demanding more. How does one manage that? By adding value to the customer, at the same time manage cost effectively. Government regulations and global standards. The mobility of workforce from one place to another unfortunately is shrinking. It's shrinking because there are government regulations which are in play today, and everybody would like to ensure, and rightly so, that the local force gets employed, which is causing a lot of flux in the business environment today. No longer is it easy to ship out people to US, to UK, to European countries and ensure that the business needs are met. There's increased globalization. So the workforce that your talent or our talent is competing with is global in nature. The standards have to be global because the requirements that are there are global. Changing demographics, which Prita referred to in her opening message, that each country, and very importantly, the study of demographics is actually fueling that where is the source of talent. Today, organizations have very niche programs run to analyze the demographic market and kind of arrive at a strategy that which market should we go after if we have to get the right kind of talent. And right kind of talent which we can deployed to meet our business requirements almost from day one. And therefore, what kind of strategies ensures that we are tapping into that kind of talent pool? And of course, the talent shortage, which we spoke of earlier. If you look at the IT industry, it's gone through 2 waves, and we are currently in the midst of the 3rd wave. The first wave was all about wage arbitration. You needed a person who is skilled enough, who has the right kind of skills, right kind of training, and it was all about, at what kind of cost can you deploy the person in front of the customer. So the wage arbitration, or the rate war as we call it. The second wave that came about was more about process maturity and expertise. What kind of processes and systems do you have in the organization to ensure the quality of the deliverables? And that's where CMMI, Level 5 and all of that had a fair play in that era. The 3rd wave, and the wave that we are in currently, is all about innovation. Is all about how do we give value to the customer, greater bang for the buck that the customer is paying us for. And when it comes to innovation, it's about how do you tap into the talent pool and ensure that the creativity is unleashed and is used for the benefits of the customer. It's a very difficult proposition that we are talking about. Today, many of the organizations, including Zensar Technologies, we have productivity frameworks, we have tool sets, we have focused service offerings, and not only that, we have created a whole ecosystem within the organization to ensure that innovation is not just a buzzword. Innovation is something that people are living, experiencing, and creating value out of for customers and for businesses alike. Therefore, what is the mindset shift that we are talking of? The mindset shift between old and new is this. Organizations need people. That was the old reality. That we were happy to get X number of associates on board and we thought that our job was done. And that's how hiring was done. If we went to campuses and got people in hordes, it was because of this mindset that organizations need people. Skills and aptitude are the competitive advantage. So as long as we are getting the cream, we are getting the top rankers from any institute, our job is done. We have got the best for our requirement. Better talent makes some difference. It's okay that you have 10%, 15% of the people who are the stars, and the rest can be average to good workers. Jobs are scarce. Compare that to the new reality, and of course organizations offer jobs. Compare that to the new reality, organizations need talent. And talent is a combination of expertise, competency and emotional quotient. All three goes to make talent valuable for the organization. Only then do we call it a talent, a right mix of these three. Competencies and attitudes are the competitive advantage. No longer do we say that, okay, if you are highly skilled, highly proficient, you are a topper in your batch, which means that you can add value to us. There's a lot more that we start looking for when we meet up with a candidate sitting across the table. Better talent makes a huge difference. At any point, we may be willing to say that, okay, 10 to 15% of our workforce are somebody who would require development. The rest, 75 to 80%, we would require them to be self-motivated. Of course, organization does take the responsibility of ensuring that they are constantly groomed, that their aspirations are met, that they're getting the right kind of skill-based training or role-based training as and when required. But the right acumen when they join the organization is absolutely important. Talented people are scarce, and we have kind of bought onto that it is indeed difficult to find talent people, when we go out into the market. Organizations offer careers. No longer are we looking for jobs. When we speak of engagement, employee engagement, we are looking for that individual who can go beyond just doing the normal, the routine, the minimum expected. For a level of engagement to happen, there's equally an ownership and participation which is required from the employee. No longer are we talking of just employee satisfaction. We are talking of something which is more cognitive, which is more at a mental level than something which can be just done as a tick in the box. That requires a different level altogether. But while we are doing that, it's also important to scope out what is the talent looking for. Because it's not a one-way street. It has to be a two-way street. It's important to understand, therefore, especially in today's context, when we are looking at current generation of workers, what are they looking for? And there are enough of studies happening across which will tell us what a talent is looking for when he or she is evaluating an organization. In today's context, a talent looks for exciting work. It needs to be interesting, it needs to be challenging, it needs to be something which is adding value to one's resume almost on a daily basis. If I don't find that value, maybe my options are open. That's what today's talent is looking for. Work I feel passionate about. There should be a zing when I get up in the morning and I think about the work that I have to do during the day. Then only I feel motivated and energized to come to work. And then only will I be able to give more than the minimum required. Great company, of course, good governance, good relations with my boss, very important for today's generation, that they have an ecosystem, that they have a social bonding with their peers, with their superiors, with their juniors, and that's how they create that atmosphere where they enjoy work. That they are aligned to the culture and values of the organization, and that they trust the senior management to be responsible for their careers. Development, that what Dr. Bhavya rightly pointed out, what are the career advancement opportunities do I have in this organization? How far will it take me vis-a-vis my own aspirations, the way I see it 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, or whatever be the horizon that they have painted for themselves. It is very important to do that from day one, and therefore the whole dialogue process of career mapping and giving them a counseling on how they can see the career progress in the organization becomes very important for organizations. Long-term commitment to me. I shouldn't be living in a scenario of insecurity, not knowing where my career is going, and there'll always be ups and downs in the industry, but that can't be that I become a sacrificial goat the moment there is a downturn. And therefore, what kind of responsibility is my organization taking to enable me to meet those ups and downs that the industry is going through? Build skills to boost career, and the whole concept of meritocracy where high performance is rewarded. Wealth and rewards, recognized and being rewarded for my contribution, and not necessarily recognition always means monetary. Even a pat on the back from my boss is considered a recognition. But how often do I get that? Is my work being recognized for its worth? Substantial wealth creation opportunity. Money is important for the current generation, no doubt about that. Okay, but is there enough money on the table to take the thoughts away from it and focus on skill building, career mapping, growing in the organization? And high performers paid well. But very important, a new concept that's coming in more and more when we are working with the current generation of workers is the balance. Is the balance that they want to strike between work and life. And what kind of avenues and opportunities are we providing them, be it in form of work from home, or be it in form of sabbatical programs, or be it in form of flexi hours. How are we supporting them to meet their personal as well as professional commitments? All these are real issues that we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. What are organizations looking for? Compare that with what organizations are looking for. What we are looking for is cultural fit. How soon can the person settle in the culture of the organization? Very important for us, because we don't want any incongruences there leading to interpersonal conflicts and then we spending time and efforts in dealing with it. And therefore, how can we align them to that culture? How fast? Second important thing, alignment of values. The stated values of the organization, how well is it understood, how well is it used in decision making on a day-to-day basis, and therefore no conflict options arising there. When we talk of global competencies, we have teams which are based all over the place. They could be and a multiracial team comprising of people of various nationalities working for a particular customer. It is very important for the person or for the member of that team to understand the nuances that each of these aspects bring about and still be able to contribute without any conflicts arising, be completely 100% focused on what the customer is looking for. It requires a huge amount of skill. It requires a huge amount of emotional quotient to be able to have that understanding. Ability to see big picture. I may be doing a support and maintenance work in my project, but I at the same time, and of course this again is a two-way process, how does the organization communicate what is this work and how does it contribute to the larger goals of the organization, and for the person to be able to appreciate it and continue to add value to it. At times work can be monotonous, and yet be able to do it with that same kind of passion. And very importantly, somewhere in my slide I have that, be able to challenge the status quo. Status quo is an absolute no-no in today's world. We are looking for people who have the agility and ability to change, and therefore people who will always challenge the status quo. Look for careers and not jobs. We all say that, we don't want to have a rolling stone in our organization. The whole objective being that having invested in bringing a person to that level, nobody wants to lose out on that investment when the person decides that, for 10,000 more, 50,000 more, or lakh more, I would like to go and chase my career elsewhere. Now that is a mindset. It's not something which is, I think, driven by career goals. It's more driven by not being able to see yourself as part of the big picture. And maybe there's an ownership at both the ends. There's ownership at the organization end, there's ownership at the individual end. Commitment to community is becoming extremely important these days, because corporate social responsibility is no longer a nice to have agenda as far as organizations are concerned. We take great pride in the contributions that we do in form of CSR to our entire ecosystem. And therefore, we look for people who can be equally passionate participants in that entire journey. In terms of traits, we are looking for constant learners. For the simple reason that if we are living in an ever-changing world, the skills at some point become redundant. The only way to keep yourself current and alive is to keep learning constantly, and that thirst and hunger for knowledge has to be there always at any level, irrespective of having achieved the highest most position within the organization. Passion for excellence. Today we've recently launched a whole movement called Reigniting a Passion for Excellence within the organization, and the concept is very simple. How do we tap the Jugnu within us? There's always a Jugnu within each one of us. How do we tap into that What is it that gives us the maximum joy? Because if we are not enjoying what we are doing, we certainly will not be able to give our best to the organization. And the hunger for success, the drive for success, the result orientation, all these are the traits that we look for. Therefore, what are we saying? In a nutshell, that somewhere from skills, from knowledge, we are looking more at attitudes and behavior. We are looking at people having increased sense of ownership. It's no longer my organization. It's no longer just my organization only. It's my business. It's the sense of ownership that I have to contribute to the business goals on a day-to-day basis, and always seek those opportunities where I can add more and more value. Increased sense of accountability, basically saying that if I don't perform, I'm no longer part of this organization. So what are those performance standards? Somewhere we tell our people that setting up KRAs is not just the responsibility of the manager. It's equally important for an employee to know and ask if the KRAs are not known. Because somewhere we are talking of a two-way ownership, and not just organization saying that come, let me give you the opportunity, let me tell you what needs to be done. If you are building a career with us, it's a two-way street and not a one-way street. Eagerness to drive improvement, and this is what I was talking of, that how do I keep challenging in whatever role I may be doing. I may be a fresher out from campus, just joined the organization, but somewhere I need to keep asking the question that how do I drive improvement? What is it that I can do differently? And that is the whole genesis of the word innovation. Innovation is not something which can be in the books of research fellows, or it's not something which is the prerogative of scientists. Innovation is all about challenging the status quo. Forever on. And people who are bright, who are ready, who have sensed this, who have understood what is the requirement and have taken the efforts to skill them. And yes, it's a collaborative process, which is why today you'll see a greater amount of investment from corporate's time in ensuring that academia understands these needs, and a lot of these forums are helpful in ensuring that, but we need to do a lot more. The skill gap is widening by the day. And it's only us who stand to lose out, because there will always be business requirements. And if you don't have the right kind of talent to meet the business requirements, then God help us. Thank you very much.